So now most of us are starting with the end game of Far Cry, maybe even already finished it. I want to share my build, which I find incredibly useful in any situation. Hi, I'm Epoch, and let's get straight into the build. Now we'll start off with the most interesting part, of course, the weapons. Now you may have already seen my video on the special operations. Now if you actually check that out, I already mentioned that I really like to use a sniper rifle, not exactly a rifle. A sniper rifle, it's actually just a rifle. Now in the end game, I'm using the SKS. Now earlier on, I was using the MS-16S during a lot of the first half of the game. Afterwards, I actually switched to his bigger brother, the MS-16L, but the SKS is my personal favorite, mainly due to his accuracy, which is really great, also his health, though the MS-16L is still also a great choice, but this is the one that I'm going for. Now, if we're talking mods, now of course we're going to go with armor piercing rounds, because we're also using a silencer. Now this rifle is completely meant to pick off enemies from afar, so we're going to get to an elevated position, we're going to be very stealthy, and we're just going to kill everyone from afar. Makes it very easy. So what we need for that is of course our silencer. Now I just use the large cylindrical suppressor. Now it doesn't matter that much which one you want. Now this is quick to overheat, but this is not an automatic rifle, so that's no problem. And of course we have reduced weapon noise. Now to help out with the velocity we lose because we're using a silencer, we're going to use the armor piercing rounds. Those are going to bring it back up. Then of course we're going to use an optical socket. Now mainly during the early game I was using a 2x ranged optic, so that would only increase your zoom by 2, but now I'm actually upgraded to a 4, so I can also just use it as a sniper rifle. Besides that, we also have the candid side socket. It's a nice extra that I don't really use, to be honest. And of course we have the pointer socket, which is once again whenever that point that you actually need to fire really quickly right in front of you, but once again that is not that needed. Of course, mods, we're going to go with the trigger discipline that is going to give us improved aimed weapon damage, and of course the headshot supremo. So each headshot that we do will actually charge our supremo, which lets us use it more often. Now a lot of the build is actually just going to help out this rifle. This is going to be the main rifle that I use. Now if you actually look at the gear there, we're going to also see some benefits. But first we're going to move on to our second weapon, and of course that is going to be our SSGP-58. Now this is the best non-named weapon in game in my opinion. Even with the named ones included, I have a lot of them, and honestly this one is still the best one in my opinion. Now, first of all, why is it so good? It has a lot of attachment mods. So once again, we're going to be able to use our suppressor, so we can still use it in a ranged context. And we're going to use armor piercing rounds, so we can actually still, take out the armored guards and still fix up that velocity, so we can also use it from quite a distance when we need to. Now the optical side, once again, I'm going to use just the 3 times. You can also use it 2 times. It's whenever you want. But the reason I'm using it 3 times is so I don't need to hold my breath. It isn't over zoomed in, if that's a word. But I also have the candid side socket. So this is really easy when you're going to go more close quarters combat. So you're inside the building and you can just switch this one. And this one is more for the outside when the enemies are coming from a range, but you still want to have a little bit of an automatic rifle. And of course, then we also have the pointer socket that is just going to help us with firing from the hip. But once again, not something I necessarily do. The mods are basically the same thing. I pretty much always aim down my sights. So I'm going to use the trigger discipline once again, and also the high ground one. So here, I actually use this also once again from an elevated position. So this is also a great one that you can use. Now for a third weapon, I actually often use the Caballero. So this is just a grenade launcher. I like it because it has 6 slots. It has some decent distance. Now standard, it has the incendiary grenade. So that's great when you want to take out, for example, a jeep, large groups of people. But you can actually just also use this to take down choppers, which is something that I do often. On top of that, he also has the nimble shooter, so we're going to increase our move speed while aiming, and reload also. If you reload this weapon, then you reload all weapons. This is a bad mod on this weapon because, well, it reloads really, really slowly. For that, we actually have our sidearm, so let's just go to that part. Now our sidearm is the Desert Eagle. Now this Desert Eagle is in no way used for combat. So, but even though we're going to be talking about quickly attachment mod, so we have a silencer, we have armor piercing rounds, once again, an optical socket, and the pointer socket, laser pointer, because we might as well use it. But what it's actually used for is reloading really quickly. So whenever your weapons are empty or when you want to reload your grenade launcher really quickly, then you can just whip out this thing. You're going to just shoot one shot and then you can reload really quickly. And this weapon will reload everything. We're gonna have over here the pistol mod, so reload all. Reloading this weapon reloads all weapons. If any weapon is empty and the reload time is way too long, we're just gonna switch to this. We're gonna reload all of them. On top of that, it also improves the speed of replacing a partially used mag. It's because I often just shoot one shot and reload instantly, so this is great for that. And of course, we have the fast reload to improve the reload speed even more. This is a great weapon just to reload really quickly those grenade weapons that reload often really slowly. Now, there is one thing I do want to mention. For third weapon, I also often use the M79, and this is basically just for the very simple reason he actually has EMP rounds. So this is a great weapon when you want to take out a tank, for example, or a chopper if you actually can get an aim at him. So we actually have the nimble shooter, which improves move speed while aiming, and of course improves draw and holster speed because you're going to switch to this one. It isn't really necessary, but I really like it just to have the EMP grenades when I actually have to shoot them a little bit further. But if you look at our Supremo, of course, now the Supremos are basically only three that I use. So we have the Furioso, which I use only for mobility whenever I'm going for chests that are located at the high positions, but mainly during combat, where I'm using the Exterminator Supremo, which is great for just a lot of area effect. But right now I'm really running a lot of the special operations, so I actually am using the Medico. Now for special operations, this one is the best one. Now, if we go actually look at the gear, now these 5 gear pieces are mainly just once again to support our SKS, so taking out people from afar, which is really easy. So I'm going to use the Thrifty Shooter, so this is Swashbuckler Strikhorn, so these headshots are going to refund the round. So each time you shoot someone in the head, you actually don't need to reload, it doesn't lose a bullet, which is really great. Especially when you need to take out a lot of people, even while they're all shooting at you, or just when you're stealthing around. It's just really easy. I really like it. On top of that, we also have the Adventurer's Vest, which is going to improve aim down sights weapon damage with a reduced hipfire damage. Once again, I don't like hipfire, I don't often use it, and this is just going to improve our damage even more. Then Oku's Deliverance, which is from the Olusu quest. This is going to improve your weapon damage to enemies below you. Once again, I often shoot from a high vantage point, so that's just going to increase that weapon damage even more. Now, the Tech Master Boots is not needed, but I really like it because in special operations, for example, especially in the Jurassic Park knockoff, there you actually have these mines that they often place right on top of ladders. So if you just go up the ladder and you don't see it in time, then you will walk on top of it and you're dead instantly. So that is basically to deal with that, and just in case, you kind of miss one. There isn't a really decent alternative. Instead, you can go for example, for the tripwire variant, or for example, movement speed. But this is the one I'm using right now, just so I don't really have to care that much about all that stuff. And of course, we have the Adventurer's Watch, which is going to slightly improve damage dealt to tagged enemies. Now, I assume everyone basically tags all the enemies before they enter a base, and if you don't, you really should, because it makes things a lot easier. And this is just going to improve the damage even more, even when you are aiming down. But that is basically my gear. Now, this gear is really great for special operations. I have already done a rank 2 with these. The insurgency is really easy with the setup as well. I'm really happy, but if you have any improvements for it, please let me know in the comments down below. Guys, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.